You're listening to 94XO.
94XO, I go by the name of MonneXo, and right now I'm in front of Doggie Mac's food truck. It's right here behind me, and I'm here with Chef B. Super excited. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So happy to be here.
I'm super happy. I had your guys' mac and cheese a couple weeks ago, and I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Oh, great.
But first, I want to know, what is the background behind the name Doggie Mac?
Doggie Mac, I came with the name. I'll tell you about the concept. It came at my daughter's first birthday, and I needed to come up with a food that was kid-friendly and adult-friendly. So I knew I had, this great mac and cheese recipe that I got from my grandma, and I love hot dogs, and kids love hot dogs. So I was like, man, I'm gonna do that. I'm like, wow, well, we can put it together.
Definitely.
And so I did that for my daughter's first birthday, and then afterwards, me and my stepdaughter, we were sitting there in the living room and we were talking, and I'm like, well, what can I name this dish or a company that would sell this dish? And we started just bouncing off of names and, brainstorming, and some Doggie, it was Doggie, and then it was Mac and Dog, and so then Doggie Mac just came off. She said Doggie Mac, and I'm like, Doggie Mac, that sounds great.
That's it. And you can see like little kids that are coming around the food truck and stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's Doggie Mac, and so they get excited. I love it.
I thought it was a fun sounding name.
Definitely,
so.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what is the background behind the actual food truck of Doggie Mac? So where did the idea come from?
So I've wanted to start a food truck since, I guess, 10 years ago now. I saw my first food truck here in St. Louis, and it just happened to be that it was this very truck. So I bought this truck from the guys from Gorilla Street Food, Brian Hardesty, who started 9 Mile. I bought this truck from him and his partner, and it was the first food truck I ever ate off of. So I couldn't believe it. It was just like all the stars were aligning. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I saw that food truck, and I was like, I really want to open a restaurant. But when I saw the food truck, I was like, I think food trucks are the way to go, because they were doing really cool food on a parking lot. And it blew my mind. And I said, this is great. This is something that I want to do. So I switched my focus from a restaurant initially to a food truck. And so when I came up with the concept of Doggie Mac's, I was like, I bet you that would be great on a food truck.
And that's what I wanted to know about. Why didn't you open up a restaurant first and then go towards the food truck route? But kind of seeing like how successful you have been having the food truck, I think it's cool because obviously you're mobile.
Yes. Yes.
You can go wherever. People don't necessarily have to come to the same spot. You can go to them. I think that's really cool. But can you like talk about, I guess, the differences in having a food truck compared to
versus a restaurant?
Yes.
Well, the original, every chef wants a restaurant, I think, most chefs anyway. And so I always wanted that restaurant. But when I saw some of the things you said, it's mobile. So I can be in 5 different parts of the city in 1 week. So I said, well, if I can go where the business goes, if the people are there, I can go there. So the concept of a food truck became more and more appealing. And then as I researched, I could start a food truck all in for about half the amount that it would take me to start a restaurant, full service restaurant. So I said, okay, then now it's looking even better. And then I started thinking of how cool the food truck was. And I was like, yeah, I want to be cool. I want to sell cool food. I want to be in the park selling food. I want to be one of those guys. And so I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to do a food truck. And so I went out and I found not even this truck. It was a way worse truck that needed a lot more work. And I bought it just so I could have the nerve to move forward to do the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You're listening to 94XO.
So I want to know, why did you pick these two particular dishes to focus on? So you could have picked anything in the world, steak,
Right.
all of that. But what made you really want to focus on doing all these different gourmet dishes with mac and cheese and hot dogs?
Great question. I did those. I needed something that was very approachable because I can get really chefy and I can do some really, kind of off the wall and abstract dishes. And I thought if I went that route, that I might cancel out part of my audience. So for my initial truck, I guess I called it playing it safe. So I said mac and cheese and hot dogs is something that everybody loves. Everybody loves one or the other. Some people love hot dogs and don't like mac and cheese. Some people like mac and cheese and don't like hot dogs.
I said growing up, my mom made mac and cheese and hot dogs.
And hot dogs, that was the thing, right? So I said everybody's gonna love that. Well, everybody doesn't love it. In my mind, everybody was gonna be lining up, and they are. But I wanted to start something that was that approachable, that people wouldn't be scared of. So I did that, and I put as much chefy twist on it as I could to make it gourmet and to elevate the dishes just a little more than where they were, than just a bun with onions and ketchup and mustard. I wanted to do something a little more elevated than that.
Like your mac and cheese that I really want to talk about. So let's hear the story behind it.
Okay. So the jerk pork mac and cheese is what you had, right?
Yes, it was so good.
So it was so good. So good. I'm so glad you liked it. It's my favorite dish as well, and I think it's the most flavorful. It's the most beautiful. I love it. So it's got the mac and cheese, and then I do a pork shoulder, and I slow smoke this pork shoulder for 7 hours. And before that, I rub my own jerk paste that I make in house on that, and then I smoke it for 7 hours, and then I shred it by hand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds fire.
And so that goes on top of, so that's why it's the most labor intensive dish, but you can tell because it comes out in the dish. And then I make a Caribbean slaw, which the whole premise is, I travel to Jamaica a lot. I've probably been to Jamaica 9 or 10 times. Montego Bay.
I went there.
And I usually stay in Montego Bay, and always, when I get the jerk, they always have this vinegar-based slaw that they serve with it to contrast it. And I'm like, man, that's a great combination. So I had to make the slaw, but I made it my own twist. I made it with Napa cabbage and fresh tricolor bell peppers and this vinegar base and a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of acidity, and it's so great. And I put that on top, and that blends perfectly with the pork and the mac and cheese. Get a little bit of crispness with the slaw, a little crunch, and then you get the smokiness with the jerk pork and a little bit of spice, and that all blends in the mac and cheese. And I top it all off with the plantain chip.
It was
fried
so
plantain
good. Like
chip,
you're just talking about it.
You're just remembering how wonderful it was, yeah.
But so you do a lot when it comes to your recipes. Let's talk about trial and error when it comes to making these different dishes.
Yeah, well, the mac and cheese recipe alone, because it's my grandma's, and so I asked my grandma, I said, hey, what's the recipe for the mac and cheese? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You make it all the time. She said, I don't know, I put a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I was like, okay, Grandma.
I think that Grandma's cooking is.
Yes, Grandma's cooking. So I took a notepad. I said, Grandma, I'm gonna watch you make the mac and cheese. And I sat there and I took notes and she's like, okay, I know. And she's like, I'm not even listening to her because she's like, I put 2 pinches of that, and I'm looking. I'm like, how much was that pinch? That was a teaspoon. That was a tablespoon, and I'm writing it all down. And so trial and error. I probably tried that mac and cheese 16 times before it got even close to her mac and cheese.
Wow.
And so on a 17th time, I was like, whoa, this actually came out pretty close to hers. And so once I had it, then I could really play with it. I kind of played with the consistency and what it would look like. And then I added, and once I had it, then I added the Chef B to it and made it a little more gourmet. And that's how the mac and cheese came about. So everything is a process. Everything takes,
Definitely.
5, 10 times to play with it to try to make it what you want it to be. And then it changes even still,
For
even
sure.
today, where I'm still doing little tweaks on things. Chefs are never satisfied. What can I don't know.
Now talk about the opportunity that you've had to be here at 9 Mile Garden.
Yeah, this is a beautiful place, and it's just fantastic. When I heard of the concept, when Brian Hardesty came at me with the concept, I was like, "This is amazing. This is something that I've been thinking about since I wrote the business plan for the food truck."
Yeah.
I said St. Louis needs a food truck court. I think a food truck court. He blew me out of the water with this because he made a food truck garden and with bands and movies and it's just amazing. And it's a real destination for people to come, and it makes food trucks very accessible and
Yes.
easy because you don't have to pull over on the side of the road, and hop out and, oh, am I gonna like this truck or that truck? You can come and try 2 or 3 different trucks, and then you can sit down comfortably and then taste it and see what you like. So it made food trucks very accessible for the masses of St. Louis, and it's just been a great experience so far.
For sure. This is actually like where I found your food truck at. So I think it's been like a great opportunity for, yourself and other food trucks, other places to be able to expand their business. And people like me that don't really see food trucks are able to see like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anything about these places, and so it's really a great experience. But word on the street is you have in mind about opening up a restaurant.
Word on the street is, yes, and I get, I don't know when the right time to leak that type of stuff out is because it's kind of like saying I'm pregnant before the
Yes.
first trimester or something. So I'm like, okay, so yes, I'm gonna open up a restaurant. It's gonna happen. Whatever I got to do to make it happen is going to happen. It's going to be down in South City on South Grand. Just check my Facebook page. I'm going to start putting more definite things out. But it's going to be Doggie Max. So it's going to be a Doggie Max restaurant with the OG Doggie Max menu.
Okay.
But I'm going to be able to add 5 or 6 other dishes that are not on the truck, and some things that I've been holding for probably 10 or 15 years that I think people are really gonna love. And then I'm gonna have a chef's corner where I'm gonna have a weekly special, and it's gonna be a more elegant, more upscale dish that you can order as well. So that'll be kind of my laboratory.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
What advice would you give other chefs that are trying to, be at the level that you are when it comes to opening up their own business? Because obviously it's so many things that play a part behind the scenes.
So many. Have a plan. Some people start and they go, oh, it's a great idea. Ideas are here, plans are on paper.
Yes.
So have a detailed plan and go and talk to people like me. Talk to other food trucks and get their opinion. Talk to 10 food truck owners and say, hey, would you mind if I peeked on your truck? Would you mind, can you give me 5 things I need to do? And write all of that down and then compile, because everybody's gonna have a different experience. So if you talk to 10 food truck owners, you're gonna get a pretty good idea of everything you need, because the one thing that people don't think about when they start a food truck is how much it's gonna cost in inspections and just the licenses to get the truck going. So that is one of the biggest expenses, and it's the difference, it's the thing that's holding you from opening up or not. So you really got to have your ducks in a row and really make sure that you have every I dotted and T crossed in order to start a restaurant. So the plan is the biggest thing.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chef B. I appreciate you. You guys are super awesome. I love everything you're doing. I can't wait to see what you have in store
Thank
next.
you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm MonneXo, and this is 94XO, and we are out. Be easy.